Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to Open Test 7.5. Now, there are a few changes in Open Test 7.5, and we are going to look at the majority of these changes, the main changes. First up, you can see the zooming button. I mean, that's changed a little bit. I don't know why, but they've changed that a little bit. Now, a few buffs. The M60, the turret at the moment is 177, the hull is 93. In update 7.5, that is going to go to 185 and 115 on the hull. So a armor buff there for the M60. There is also a slight buff, I think, for the M48 pattern. The Vickers Light, at the moment, the penetration on the APCR is 257. That is actually getting nerfed in update 7.5 to 252. So only a little bit of a nerf there for the penetration on the APCR for the Vickers Light. It did need a little bit of a nerf, the tank itself, but it doesn't end there for the Vickers. The armor on the tank, the front turret is 152 millimeters currently in this update, but in update 7.5 the armor on the turret is going to drop to 127, so it is losing around about 30 millimeters of turret armor, which I've said all along, it is a little bit too OP with the turret. So they are nerfing the Vickers Light in the next update. More buffs. There are a few more buffs. We have the KPF, the armor, or the penetration on is 240 and 480 damage, and in the next update it is going to, the heat, 305, it's going to 310, and it's doing 490 damage from 480. So a slight buff there for the KPF. Any buff is welcome. Now, a good buff here for the Hellcat. Currently, the DPM is 1800. Reload 7.1. Yeah, that's getting a big buff. So the reload time right now is 7.16. In the next update, the reload goes to 5.4 seconds. DPM 2400. It is getting around 600 more DPM. That's almost 2 seconds. That's around 2 seconds off its reload. The Hellcat is already a good tank. Now it is going to be made insane. Moving on, we have the Bat Chat. Now, this was a much needed buff, but I do feel Wargaming could have done a little bit more to the Bat Chat. Now, what they've done, pretty much the only thing they have done is buffed the intra clip. So instead of 3 seconds in between each shell that you shoot, it is going to be a 2.8 seconds. So a nice little buff there for the Bat Chat. It did need a buff. I did a video not so long ago on the Bat Chat saying it needs a buff, and I did actually say what they could do is buff the intra clip so it's a 2.5 second intra clip, but Wargaming have made it a 2.8. I suppose it's a good start. Maybe in a few updates they could, even if it's still not performing, they can buff it to 2.5. I think they could have just buffed it to 2.5 anyway, but hopefully they're going to bring the Bat Chat back. The Bat Chat is a great tank. It is a great tank, and I do like to see that they are nerfing the Vickers. They're buffing the Bat Chat, but I do feel that they could have just buffed it that little bit more. 0.2 second intra clip doesn't seem a lot, but it can be a lot. 2.5 seconds would have been much better, and it would have made so much difference to the tank, especially as they are nerfing the Vickers, especially as the Sheridan is also changing, which we've already had a slight look at, but we're actually going to watch some gameplay with the Sheridan. I am on open test. Unfortunately, all the clans couldn't get access to open test because the clans that normally on EU that are on open test haven't got their login. So I've got my own login, so I was able to get on open test, get in training rooms with basically all the Russians. Now the Sheridan, as everyone already knows, it is losing its missiles. I already stated in a previous video that it's not going to be the end of this Sheridan. People are still going to complain because of the tank itself. Now with heat, it's just as good. It's just as good with missiles. Yes, you can't do the over the hill shots, but the tank is still really, really good without the missiles. And I've said this all along, the tank is great. The tank is fantastic. And for me personally, removing the missiles is even better, because there is some people out there that can't use missiles. Now they're going to have the chance to be able to use the heat. So there's some occasions where they have to use missiles to penetrate. Now they can just use the heat. So it's still going to be a great OP tank, trust me. And I do think Wargaming will have to nerf it again in the future. But we'll watch this space. We'll see how it is on the live server. I mean, I'm playing it here now. You do get a camouflage as well, a new camouflage for, I think it is just for the Sheridan. I'll explain. People are getting confused. People are getting confused. These tanks are going into collectibles, or they're getting removed. No, the only thing that is getting removed from these tanks is the missiles. If you own the tanks, you're still going to have the tanks. If you don't own the tanks, you're still going to be able to get these tanks, but they just won't have missiles. I mean, you can see here, nice shot, 522 alpha. There's a lot of shots that does over 500 alpha with your missiles, with your heat. Now, if I was using missiles there, it would have actually took me longer to aim at that point, because you have to wait for the missile, of course, to get to the where you're aiming. So in some circumstances, it is going to be more OP than the missiles itself, unless you're only using the missiles to shoot over ridges, over hills. Then of course it's not going to be as OP. But trust me, the Sheridan is going to be just as OP as it was before, but just without missiles. You're not going to get those annoying shots that I mean, I get annoyed with it. Watch me on the streams with Fizzy when he's shooting me in missiles. It is very annoying. I mean, this was just a little training room, 5k damage against all the Russians, no problem. No problem whatsoever. And that is without the missiles. But of course, with the heat of the gun, now with the missiles, the penetration was 310 and it done 490 alpha. So that was nerfed. It has been nerfed in previous updates, and the reload is 13.4 seconds. DPM is almost 2,500. So the DPM is actually going to drop to 2,300. The reload is going to go to 14.4 seconds, but the heat pen is going to go up to 341, and it still does the 490 alpha. Now, where people gets confused with all the missiles and blah blah blah. Now, if you own the Sheridan, you will be given this tank, and it's going to be called the Missile Sheridan. Now, you will only be able to play this tank in training rooms or in special game modes like Mad Games. You will not be able to join a random game with this tank. You will only be able to join training rooms or a game mode, a special game mode like Mad Games. There is no point, if you do own the Sheridan, there is no point selling this tank, because you're only going to be able to sell it for 5 gold. Yes, 5 gold. So the only things changing with the T92E1 or the two missile tanks is they are getting their missiles removed from the game. That is it. That is it. Wargaming want to keep the missiles implemented in the game. So what they've done is just created a copy paste of the Sheridan, named it the Sheridan Missile, but it is a collectible tank, but you're only going to be able to play this tank in training rooms or in special game modes. Of course, you also be able to play the other Sheridan in these special game modes, but they won't have the missiles, just this tank. So if you do want the chance to fire missiles in the future, I would get grinding the Sheridan. Go and get the Sheridan as quick as you can. You only need to own the Sheridan, I believe. I don't even know if you need to play the Sheridan. You just need to own it, research it, own it, and then you will be given this tank. Then in the future, with these special game modes, you will be able to still use the missiles. So there are a lot of buffs, a lot of good buffs, especially for the Batchat and the Hellcat. Again, the Sheridan is going to be still a crazy tank, so expect a nerf in the future. So this is update 7.5. Again, of course, like every update, anything can change from now until the update is released. But I'm meadsy69. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.